Okay, Howard, I have 2 questions.
Oh, good.
I will try to separate them. Number 1, VA buyers, how are they affected by the NAR settlement?
Of all of the groups of buyers, I think they are the ones who, right now, as of today, which today is April 25th.
April 25th. It's the perfect date. All you need is a light jacket.
There you go.
That's a joke from the 1990s.
Okay, I don't know it.
Miss Congeniality.
Never saw it.
What's your idea of a perfect date?
Babysitter?
No.
Oh.
Describe your perfect date. You don't know this line?
No.
Describe your perfect date. And then she's like on a beauty pageant. And he goes, describe your perfect date. Sorry, this is a tangent.
And what did she say?
And then she
Walking
goes,
on the beach?
April 25th. Because it's not too hot and it's not too cold. And all you need is a light jacket.
There you go.
And that's today. It's April 25th, in case you're wondering. So it's my perfect date.
So of all the groups of buyers out there, I think the military members, former military members, current military members,
Myself.
yourself, the VA buyer is absolutely the one who is hurt the worst right now.
Cool.
They are, it's awful.
It's great.
Who would think that the government would do something to go after
man.
the former military, the people that serve this country? So basically, military VA buyers using a VA loan are not allowed to pay for a buyer's agent. And again, I mentioned all these different government entities that say different things. In the VA doctrine, it says they don't believe you need a buyer's agent. Well, we know for sure that especially on those deals with VA appraisers having a reputation of being harder, whether or not they are, VA sometimes not winning the offer because the seller goes with somebody else. They need a great agent who's going to know what WDO is and that it requires a clear WDO, that there are inspections that have to be had, the time frames, and they're not allowed to pay for a buyer's agent. And now that there's potentially the idea that sellers may choose to forego that sort of concession for a buyer, they're going to get hurt so bad. And I really hope that the VA comes out with a rule like the FHA did, like the GSEs did, to state that sellers have always paid for these things. It's common, and we're going to allow that. And now the way the document works, you can't even do a buyer broker agreement with a VA member.
Wow.
So they're really hurt.
There's a saying out there, and I'm not surprised as a veteran myself when I heard this, is that the smartest thing that we ever did as a society was to worship our veterans rather than actually take care of them.
Ooh. Well,
I'd rather be thanked for my service by being able to hire an agent rather than just like at a Home Depot, thank you for your service. Like actually take care of our veterans by doing the paperwork that backs us up.
And my dad and my granddad both served. My dad in Vietnam, my grandfather in World War II. And, I think so highly of what they have sacrificed for our country. And I truly believe that we have not given enough to the VA and to the military and through, the programs that are out there.
Like I have a lot of veterans. Like most of the people, I want to say most, but I say half of the people I work with are veterans. Not because I seek out veterans to work with, but it just happens that way.
Well, they trust you too. So if they're choosing an agent.
Sure, or I'll have a mom reach out to me because she's like, oh, hey honey, this girl I follow on Instagram, she was in the 82nd. Weren't you in the 82nd? And now there's a connection and we all gel and we can talk military jargon to each other. But
to recap, the military members are the ones who are hurt the most as of today by this settlement. They can't pay for representation. They need representation, like you mentioned, more than anyone. A lot of times the loans that they're presenting to a listing broker come with negative reputation, negative connotation, whether that be true or not, regarding appraisals and down payments and these sorts of things. And you have to have a good agent to walk you through the inspection requirements and this situation.
Imagine being a VA buyer who now has to present somehow their own offer to this house, to this agent, and say, I'm doing 0 down, but I promise I'm a really good buyer, blah, 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 blah. They have nobody there to represent them and explain to them their situation and walk them through the process and everything else that comes with moving. And military members are moving. I mean, in the Army, we've moved every year or two. Other branches move maybe a little less, but we were moving every year or two to a new rotation. And so I feel like the military needs representation more than anybody. And so to say that they cannot have an agent and pay for an agent, or have a seller pay for that agent, now you're cutting them off. They're like trying to reach out to the next state that they're moving to. If I was a military member, I would feel completely lost and abandoned to say, I guess I'm doing this all on my own. I'm gonna have to call listing agents and present my offer, my VA offer. And also I won't know like what lenders to choose, what inspectors to choose.
And how about let's make it even more tangible. How about the fact that a lot of VA members have been coached that VA financing is 0% down, which it is, but they also hear sometimes that it costs you nothing. So they get into this transaction. If they go directly to a listing broker, and that listing broker, who's supposed to be negotiating on behalf of the seller, doesn't offer to put in there that the seller will contribute money to the buyer's closing costs, now you're 2 weeks before closing. They find out, wait, I have to bring how much to the table? I have to bring $6,000 to the table. I was told I didn't have to bring anything. And now we're 2 weeks before closing. They potentially let their lease lapse on their apartment. They're going to be homeless because they can't have representation. And it's just another one of the things, they let the bull loose in the china shop. They were trying to break something that was just built, the court case was built on a foundation that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And
so the losers in the case are military members.
I think the losers,
the biggest losers.
I think the losers in the case are first-time home buyers, VA buyers. I think there's a loss to the public in the lack of transparency that commissions would have been on everything. They would have been on every website. Now they're not going to be.
And the winners are the lawyers.
The lawyers, the head
greed.
Corporate greed, and you know, it's just a shame. And
why am I not surprised? Because inflation right now is insanity, and it's really corporate greed driving up costs of everything, and the Fed printing more money. Like, I don't want to go down a whole rabbit hole, but I just said it.
I mean, it's just interesting that on Wall Street, there are record profits every quarter, but inflation going up too, which is just kind of weird.
Nice. If you're liking this video so far, remember to like, share, subscribe, and follow, and keep on watching for more good info. One thing that is good, if you are a military, I will say there is one good thing about being a military veteran in Florida. I don't know if this is like this everywhere, but if you're a disabled veteran in Florida, you can own a home with no property taxes.
And I think they do that in percentages though. So it depends on how much of a disability you have.
It has to be, now in Florida, it's like, I think it was like a discount, I think a 5%. And then once you have total and permanent, it wipes out all your property taxes on your home.
And I think it wipes out your VA funding fee as well, doesn't it?
Oh, it's always. So here's a little nugget. This is really important to all my military peeps. If you have even 10% disability, and that's like the lowest you can get, if you have even 10% disability, you can wipe your VA funding fee.
Well, who should they call?
And then also, if you have 100% total and permanent disability, you should call a county and have them, they will stop billing you for property taxes when you talk to your lender.
You skipped a step. You said have them call the county. That's not true. They should call you first.
Call me.
And then you will get them the phone number to the county that they should call in, and then they'll call.
So we call, like the process for me, the VA told me, hey, you have total and permanent disability. Great. I call the county. Hey, I have total and permanent disability. Great. Call your lender. I call my lender. Guess what? And then they did a new amortization table and took all of my property taxes off. And now my mortgage payment every month is like $600 less. Call me. I will help you. But if you're a military veteran trying to navigate buying a home, property taxes, VA loans, VA funding fee, all that stuff, I've been there, done that multiple times. Call me. Like, it can be very messy.
And to be clear, and we need to have this in here, we've said how hard it's going to be for VA buyers, that they can't pay for buyer's agents. The trick is call her, because at Roundtable Realty, we know how she can still represent VA buyers and you still won't have to pay her commission.
Yeah.
Like you never had to.
You never had to. And I will call that seller.
And the services and the services weren't free.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a cost involved. It just happened to be paid for out of seller's equity.
Yep.
And that's always been the case, and it shouldn't have been changed, honestly.
Yep. And that goes for like new construction home buyers too, walking into new builds and model homes, and all of those site agents saying, we'll take great care of you, come over here and let's talk about this and let's get you set up with our lender. It's like, never do that without bringing a representative, because once you've stepped into that door, you're on your own, bro. Like, and they can snow you over. And I've seen it happen at like blue tape walkthroughs with just crap missing everywhere, and they're like, we'll get it to you on closing day. No, I've had buyers that we were literally sitting at the closing table waiting from pictures to come in from the superintendent, waiting on a piece of a door frame to get repaired before we signed anything. I was like, we will sit here and wait for the repair picture to come in before we sign. We're not, as soon as you signed your documents on closing day, there is nothing holding that builder to actually follow through to do anything for you unless there's something in writing. Nope. So, sorry, I'm getting fiery today.
And have her help you so that you can get a sewer scope done prior to closing, because I can't tell you how many tradespeople pour things down the sink. Well, I understand. They pour things down the sink. You know, they don't think anything of it. They're working hard and they need to get rid of the stuff. They pour it down the sink or down the tub, and you move into the house and you didn't have a real estate agent who reminded you to get inspections done and this include a sewer scope and all these things. And you're in the house 2 weeks later and you go, why is the shower backing up? Why is the sink backing up? And next thing you know, you've got a flood in your house.
Yep.
And we've saved a lot of people some heartache by doing that. So,
what if buyers want to buy homes without signing a buyer's rep agreement? What do you say when they say, I don't want to sign that? Because I've done that before in the past where it's a litmus test and I go, okay, you don't want to sign it, I can't show you that home today. What do you say if they're like, I'm really serious about, you've been working together and you're about ready to start going to look at homes and they've already sent you their pre-approval letter and like they just are very antsy about signing them.
Yeah, I understand. And I understand why they would feel that way, because we haven't had to do that for 20 years, right? But I, at that moment, would say to them, well, there was this recent NAR settlement of a lawsuit that now requires all real estate agents nationwide to have a relationship established with a buyer in writing that explains to you how I'm paid and the maximum I can be paid on a document. So if you don't want to sign it with me, I understand. I'm not the girl for you. Okay, not a problem. You can find somebody else. But they're also going to require you to do that. Right. They may not require it up front. They may meet you at a home and have you sign in a house. You may even find somebody who wants to break the rules and do it later. I like to work on your behalf and follow the rules and follow the code of ethics. And so I'm going to do my very best to represent you to get the best possible deal for you. But that can only be done after we establish our little relationship.
Really hard in a society of swipe left, swipe right to make, for anybody to make a decision. Like, decision fatigue is like a real thing, especially first-time homebuyers. Like, they don't want to decide anything. So to get them to decide on an agent right at the very beginning of their search is, I think, very scary for someone.
I think one of the easiest things to say that I would say to someone, because you can actually do, they have single showing agreements too. If it's just on one home, you could just do that.
You can put 2 homes on there.
Yeah, but in essence, you could just say to someone, look, this establishes our relationship in writing. It's basically like a seller's listing agreement with their agent, right? When they're listing their home to sell. This means that we're getting married in our home search. You can divorce me at any time, but don't cheat on me.
If you're going to cheat on me, tell me first. Let's just break up, and then you can go on your way. It's like just being in an honest relationship.
There you go.
Just break up with me and then cheat.
But we have to have it in writing.
So Howard, what are your final thoughts as we wrap up today's video? What have we not said?
I think my final thoughts are that the settlement certainly helps alleviate some of the confusion and some of the unknowns for the future for real estate agents and brokerages. I think that it was completely misguided and misrepresented as to the cause and effects and what is going to happen in the future. And I think there were parties involved who benefit greatly from this going down, lawyers and, like we mentioned before. And I think it's just a shame that it's actually going to, under the guise of transparency and making prices lower and costs lower for buyers, it's actually going to be more opaque and more expensive for buyers. But there's a winner in that, and that is hedge funds, law firms, politicians sometimes, depending on what side of the aisle they're on. And it's just a shame that through this gaslighting, this is where we ended up.
I am very thankful for you and your 23 years of expertise that you bring to the table and share with us roundtable agents every single day of the week, 24/7. So thank you again for coming on my channel. This is Howard Flaschen. What was your nickname as an actor again?
I don't even remember.
We'll put that in the comments. But thank you again, and we'll see you again, I'm sure, in the future on the next video.
Anytime. Good to see you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. And before you go, remember to smash the like button, subscribe, follow, share, and do all the things. I'll see you on the next one.